Alright folks, tonight we're diving into the murky waters of 16th century Italian politics. Don't touch that remote, it's more relevant than you think. We're talking about Niccolò Machiavelli and his masterpiece. A book so scandalous, so politically incorrect it makes Machiavelli the OG political spin doctor. Now, you might be thinking, why are we talking about some dusty old book written over 500 years ago? Well, because Machiavelli's insights into power, ambition, and the art of ruling are still shockingly relevant today. It's like watching an episode of House of Cards but with ruffled collars and more plague. Machiavelli wasn't some ivory tower intellectual, this guy lived and breathed politics. He worked for the Florentine government, went on diplomatic missions, and even got his hands dirty in the military. But then, plot twist, the Medici family takes over Florence and Machiavelli, well, he gets the boot. Out of a job and with plenty of time on his hands, Machiavelli does what any sensible, unemployed Renaissance man would do. He writes a book, but not just any book. He writes a guidebook for rulers on how to acquire and maintain power. Think of it as politics for dummies, but with less dummies and more ruthlessly crushing your enemies. So what's Machiavelli's secret sauce for becoming a top dog in the political jungle? Well, first off, you gotta understand that this ain't a fairy tale. There's no magic sword or fairy godmother in Machiavelli's world, just cold hard strategy. Machiavelli outlines two main types of rulers, the lion and the fox. The lion is all about brute force and commanding presence. Think more Genghis Khan, less Gandhi. The fox, on the other hand, is all about cunning, manipulation, and knowing when to bend the rules. Imagine a political chess grandmaster who also happens to be a master poker player. But Machiavelli's ideal prince? He's a glorious hybrid of the two. He's got the lion's roar when he needs it, and the fox's sly grin when it counts. He knows when to charm and when to intimidate, when to play by the rules and when to, shall we say, reimagine them. And here's a newsflash. Being a nice guy doesn't get you very far in Machiavelli's world. In fact, he argues that it's better to be feared than loved. Why? Because fear is a powerful motivator. Now before you go all dictator chic on us, remember, Machiavelli isn't saying you have to rule through sheer terror. It's more nuanced than that. He argues that it's better to be both feared and loved, but if you have to choose, go with fear. Why? Because love, as Machiavelli sees it, is fickle. People are more likely to betray someone they love if it means saving their own skin. Fear, on the other hand, is a much more reliable motivator. Think of it this way. You're more likely to pay your taxes on time because you're afraid of the IRS coming after you, not because you're head over heels in love with the tax code, right? But here's the catch. You don't want to be so terrifying that you become hated. You can't just go around lopping off heads willy-nilly and expect to maintain power. That's a recipe for rebellion faster than you can say, et tu, brute? Section 4. Machiavelli's Guide to Not Getting Stabbed in the Back. Too often. So, how do you strike that delicate balance between being feared and not getting assassinated in your sleep? Machiavelli has a few tips, and they're surprisingly relevant to the modern world. First, avoid being unnecessarily cruel. Don't go looking for trouble and pick your battles wisely. Second, keep your promises, especially when it comes to matters of life and death. Remember, trust is a valuable commodity in the game of power. Third, build a strong base of support among the people. That means keeping them happy, or at least content enough not to revolt. Think bread and circuses, but maybe swap out the gladiatorial combat for like free Wi-Fi or something. Finally, and this is a big one, be prepared to get your hands dirty. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, even if it means bending the rules or making tough choices. Machiavelli doesn't shy away from the fact that politics is a dirty game. In fact, he practically wrote the rulebook. Section 5. Fortune favors the bold and the well-prepared, says Machiavelli. Now, Machiavelli wasn't naive enough to think that rulers could control everything. He knew that luck, or fortuna as he called it, played a big role in a ruler's success. But here's where Machiavelli throws another curveball. He believed that while you can't control fortune, you can be prepared for it. Imagine fortune as a wild river. You can't stop the current, but you can build a damn good boat and learn how to navigate the rapids. That's what Machiavelli means by being prepared. You gotta anticipate problems, adapt to changing circumstances, and always have a backup plan, or three. And that's where virtue comes in. No, not the kind your grandma talks about, although Machiavelli would probably approve of that too. He's talking about a ruler's skill, cunning, and ability to seize opportunities when they arise. Think of it as the political equivalent of being a master strategist, a smooth operator, and a bit of a daredevil, all rolled into one. You gotta be bold, but not reckless, decisive, but not impulsive, and always, always, 2 steps ahead of your enemies.